Hey guys, Julian here, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how to make future garage atmospheres. So I'm going to be giving away the project file and the samples and all that stuff from this video in the description for free, so make sure to check that out. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it will be available without a download gate. Anyway, yeah, let's get started. So to preface a little bit, I've done a few videos kind of similar to this before, but I just wanted to talk about it again because, like my knowledge of the stuff is always changing. It's always kind of updating, and there are always new things that I'm kind of figuring out, and I think you guys are that way as well. And so today I just want to kind of show you some new things that I figured out, and if this is your first time seeing a video like this from me, then you will learn a bunch of great techniques. So yeah, let's get started. So the first thing that we have here is this vinyl noise, which sounds like this. And so this is one of two vinyl noise layers. We've got this one, and then this one. And so as you can hear, this one is kind of like moving around with this filter here. And then this one is just kind of like the steady one that's playing in the background. So this is kind of like a nice technique. I hear this a lot in like Burial's music and a lot of other people who make future garage and that style. Just kind of having this like slight bandpass filter on here, moving around. You can hear this is what it sounds like without it. And then with it, it just kind of gives some movement in the background. Like, then when you have it underneath this one, you can hear it's so much more, like, lively, and it just sounds so much more real because you have, like, these kind of two layers going, as opposed to if you just have, like, one sample. Like, if I turn off the bandpass layer, it just doesn't have that same level of, like, movement, like I was saying. And it's something that's very subtle, but that's kind of the point. Is like, when you listen to this whole mix of all these sounds here, you aren't really supposed to hear, I mean, you may now that I pointed out, but you aren't really supposed to hear, like, every single thing that's going on as, like, its own separate thing. But by having something like this that's moving around in the background, it's kind of like, contributing more to the overall picture here. And that's what we're going for. It's not so much like one or two really good elements amongst a bunch of chaos, but like a lot of things, or not even a lot of things, but like a group of things that work really well together to build sort of like one thing. So yeah, that's what this is. It's just kind of in there in the background, giving it like some movement. And then, like I said, underneath that or on top of it, whatever you want to say, we've also got this vinyl noise. So this one, it's just like a pretty nice sample. And yeah, this is the one that's just kind of playing steadily. So again, we've got the movement one, and then we've got the steady one. And they're both doing kind of different things as well. Like, you can hear this one's more in the mid-range because of where the filter is. And then this one is like a lot more in the high end. So they don't get in the way of each other. Like, if I just took this sample and put it on here, and we had one where it was this sample without the filter, and one with, you can hear, it's a little bit harder to hear the difference there. So yeah, that's another thing. Just when you're layering noises like that, and you're getting into like extreme detail work of that sort, definitely kind of like picking samples that complement each other and have like two different things going on is definitely pretty important. So the next thing that we have here is this train sample, which sounds like this. This is just a sample of like some ambient noise on a train, kind of similar to like having like a sample, like a city sample or something like that, which I have later here as well. But yeah, the point of this is just to kind of add some more like texture in there and more kind of context. I feel like a lot of times with future garage and like with this kind of stuff in general, there's a sort of, I don't want to say it's like a meme, but there's like a certain like mentality of like, okay, you just kind of drop in some vinyl noise underneath, like a regular type of track, or maybe just underneath all your like melodic stuff and your drums, and you're good. Like, that's all you need. But that's really not the case. Like, I find, especially listening to like Burial's music, as I keep referencing him, it's more than that. Like, you need to have kind of more context in there, because part of the sound with this is trying to make it sound like you're kind of like in a certain space. And so the best way to do that is to add that context through samples. So that's what this is. It's like some ambient noise of like a pretty common place, like a lot of people ride the train. And yeah, it's just kind of in there providing more like layers and depth in the background. Here's what it sounds like, the whole thing with it. And then here's without it. So it is kind of taking up a lot of space, but it's, it's under control. And I think that, like I said, it really helps to add a lot of context in there. So yeah, this is pretty simple. It's just like a short loop. With these, you don't really need a whole lot of, you don't need a long sample. You can kind of just loop 2 bars or even 1 bar or even like a half note like I did here. I used 2 bars. But yeah, just kind of like something short like that. And you can see I've got a low cut on there as well with this EQ8. I guess you would call it like a high pass. But yeah, really simple. Just kind of like adds a lot of nice context to the background. So the next thing that we have here is this little Onenote Drone thing, which sounds like this. So what this is this is meant to be kind of like some ambient sound in the background where it's more like melodic. Obviously, if you just used like noise, quote unquote, this would just be like noise music. Like, unless you have something melodic come in over that, it's not really got like that kind of ambient future garage feel. So that's what this and the next layer as well are for, basically, or is for. It's just adding something kind of musical in there, where it's not like a full chord progression or bass line or anything like that. It's just something kind of like, just something in there that's musical but not too like defining the track musically just yet. Because obviously, like, this little noise collage here, whatever you would call this, would maybe be like the intro of a future garage track. Or maybe like, this would be the part like right before the chords come in or before the drums or whatever comes in. Something like that. Like, this would be the little intro. So you wouldn't want to have like a whole lot of stuff right away that kind of like gives it all away. Like, you kind of just have subtle things like this that still, are musical, but aren't gonna like give away your whole chord progression or your whole sort of melodic thing right off the bat. The way I made this was using operator. We just got this playing A sharp, pretty simple, just 1 note. And then you can see I have got 2 sine waves here. So we're just doing some really simple FM. I've got these 2 oscillators on, and yeah, you can see on this first one here, I've got like a ton of attacks. So that's what's fading it in. Is I've just got a really long attack and decay, and then just kind of goes up and then goes down really subtly. So you could also automate like the volume. Like, you could put a utility on here and just start drawing in like automation for that to do this as well. Like something kind of like that where it just fades in. I don't know. This was just kind of a quicker way to do it. A little bit more fluid as well, because you're kind of like, you're not seeing it exactly how long it's going to be in the arrangement view the way you would be with automation. You're like just kind of turning the attack up and then seeing what that does. So yeah, and then the only other thing with that is you can see I've got the second oscillator or the second operator, whatever you want to call it. I've got that up an octave, and then I've got the fine tune up on that a little bit as well to kind of give it some like obscureness. If I turn that down, you can hear it's a lot more flat sounding. So yeah, then after that, I've got this LFO here. I just have this on the volume of oscillator B. And you can see I've got it unsynced. It's just kind of moving. It's kind of moving that volume around. It's a nice way to give it some movement. If I turn this off, you can hear it's a lot more flat sounding. So yeah, it's just something that kind of helps to bring it to life and make it not just like a simple kind of like 1 note synth. Then after that, I've got this auto pan, and what I'm doing with this is you can see I've got the phase all the way down, I've got the rate unsynced, and it's at there, and then I've got the amount there. So this is adding kind of like that volume fluctuation, or modulation, that you hear. If I turn it off, you can hear. If I turn it off and back on, you can kind of hear. Yeah, it's just helping to kind of give it some more like modulation. It's very similar to how I was using this LFO here to modulate oscillator B. It's just giving it like some more movement and making it more than just like I said, like 1 note on a synth. So then after that, I've got a bit of echo. You can see it's just doing dotted 8th notes. I've got a pretty high dry wet on this one. It's just giving it some kind of space, and the echo helps to give it a little bit of texture and color as well. After that, I've just got a bit of reverb, And yeah, that's really it for this sound. It's pretty simple, but it's just kind of, again, like helping to add some musical context. I guess you would say it's like establishing the key without having to give away the whole chord progression right at the start of the track. So the next thing we have here is the second sort of drone, which sounds like this. This is kind of like a pad. It's doing something very similar to what that last one was doing. It's just kind of helping to establish some musical context again. And I just want to have this in there to kind of add a bit more depth to it. I felt like just that one on its own, like, it was cool, but it's not quite enough. I felt like it needed this under it to just really help bring the whole thing to life. So what this is it's just playing this A sharp minor chord. You can see here are the basic notes in an A sharp minor. We got A sharp, C sharp, the minor third, and then F, the fifth. And then I've just doubled up the root note and the fifth down an octave. So we got F and then A sharp. And that just helps to make it kind of bigger and like more kind of deep sounding. So for the sound on this one, I made this using operator. What we've got is we've got a saw wave, which has a really long attack, very similar to that sound I showed you a second ago. And then we just have a sine wave doing some FM with that. And then you can see I've got the sine wave, I've got the fine tune up to 8, so that's pretty important for this one. You can hear that kind of movement that it has is all being caused by that. If I turn that off, you can hear it's just like really flat. But then when we bring it back in there, so yeah, just kind of like a nice touch to give it kind of like a more warped sound. Then after that, I've just got that going into a low pass filter. You can see it's set like this. It's cutting off a lot of the highs, but not all. And then I've got the resonance up a bit. So then after that, we just got a bit of chorus. You can see I've got the amount up. I've got the rate pretty slow. And then the dry wet is pretty high. This is just kind of accentuating the like detune sound that you get from those two oscillators and the FM. Then after that, we just have a bit of reverb. And that is really it for this sound. So the next thing we have here is this breath sound, which sounds like this. So this one's for all the people who say my voice sounds kind of annoying. This is actually me breathing into my phone mic. I just kind of recorded it really quickly, and yeah, it's a pretty simple sound, but it's something that you hear in the background of a lot of like burial tracks and a lot of other Future Garage as well. It's just kind of a nice like human touch. It adds something kind of random in there because all of these sounds, save for these breath sounds, just kind of start and then just go throughout the rest of this. But the breath sounds are the only thing that's in there. They just kind of come in and then drop out. You know, like you hear that, and you don't hear it again. And then there's that one. And so there's something I noticed about Burial's music, and like I said, a lot of Future Garage in general, like I've been saying throughout this whole video. But when you have like all this stuff, and then you have something like this that is just kind of coming in and then coming out, it's a nice way to really bring it to life. You know, it makes it feel more human. It makes it feel less like a loop where you just sort of, you know, dragged out some samples, and more like something where you've taken the time to really make it sound like alive and have things that aren't just playing as like long 8-bar loops. So yeah, this is really simple. That's all this is. It's just like recording. I mean, going like into the mic and a little bit of as well. Pretty simple, nothing too crazy. But yeah, it's just a nice way to kind of bring it to life and add a more human touch to it. So then the last thing we have in here is the city sample, which sounds like this. This is just another field recording I did. It's just a recording. I think I was walking through the city, and I recorded this on my phone. But yeah, you can hear there's just a lot of cool stuff in here. Like there's the sounds of me walking. There's like people in the background. There's just like wind. This is another thing that's really good for just kind of bringing it to life. And again, between this and then the train sample, and then all the vinyl noises, the atmosphere really sounds alive, and it really sounds like it's got a lot more depth to it. And I'll show you too, like, here's the difference. Here's with just the vinyl noises and then the other stuff. You can hear it's really not as, like, deep and full as, like, a lot of Burial and other Future Garage sounds. And then here's with the full scope of all of these different, like, ambient sounds. So yeah, stuff like the city sample really, really helps to just kind of bring the whole thing to life. And with that, I think that is it for this one. I've pretty much shown you everything that is in this project file. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Make sure to like this video as well as subscribe. And once again, you get the project file and the samples and all that stuff from this video for free in the description. So if you want to play around with this on your own, go ahead. You can get it all down there in the description. Also, if you're a patron on my Patreon, check that because you'll be able to get it without a download gate. Thank you so much, everybody. And I will see you tomorrow with another video.